I needed to not let anyone stop me, and then even if no one's helping me, I needed to go and find out how can I get to where I'm trying to go to. And I didn't have those realizations or that knowledge at that time.
Still sticking to that age bracket, like when we met, you had a nickname.
Which one? I have many.
Ankle breaker.
Oh yeah, I think it was AB, but yeah.
Yeah, ankle, but AB because of your ankle breaker. So you were the balling don, so to say. So I guess, was playing basketball a dream of yours when you were younger, or?
Yeah. I think basketball came like the closest to something that I rooted my identity in. Well, probably that, and like my intelligence, but yeah, so it was something that I'd dreamed of doing, but that also led to like when I lost it, when I got injured, and when it didn't happen, that also had a lot of kind of how would you call it? You know what? It was a lot of loss, and probably like a bit of like as close as I came to identity issues as well. Of like, oh, well, if I'm not doing that, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know.
So your identity was tied to this sport, this passion of yours. And then you say, was it that you got injured that it didn't happen for you?
Loads of reasons. Like I didn't know what I needed to do. I didn't chase it hard enough. And again, that goes back to not knowing what I needed to do. Like, so yeah, like I guess that's another thing. Like I didn't know what it took to get to wherever I wanted to go, and like those things took a long time to realize that. All right, at that point, I needed to be doing this, and like I needed to not let anyone stop me, and then even if no one's helping me, I needed to go and find out how can I get to where I'm trying to go to. And I didn't have those realizations or that knowledge at that time. It was probably from a younger age, to be fair, because like I started getting chronic injuries at like 15, 16, and that really affected me, to be fair. But
So I know like there's a few people you'd been playing with when you were younger that made it pro. So were they doing anything different to have been able to take that extra step that you weren't able to do? Because I'm guessing the talent there wouldn't been like a large disparity in talent. Was it just something they were doing different?
I don't know. Like, I don't know what anyone else was doing for one. I know, like, I didn't have I don't know how to describe it. Like, I didn't really have good relationships with coaches and stuff like that. Like, I was very introverted, so I was insular, I guess, and I don't know how, you know what, that was the thing that just confused me throughout my whole childhood. I didn't know how other people were viewing me or perceiving me. So like that made it difficult to navigate things, and like my own kind of introvertedness and other things that were going on with me is just like, I guess it's kind of like the idea of you don't ask, you don't get it. Like I wasn't asking, and I don't know.
So I think relationships, building relationships. I guess it applies to anything in life, anything you're pursuing. Whether you're starting a business, you can't do it without relationships. Whether you're pursuing sports, fashion, or whatever it might be, you need relationships, connections.
Yeah.
So do you think do you think it was simply a facet of introversion that you went developing these relationships, or because I'm sure other introverts are still able to do that? Is it just introversion, or
Again, like, I don't know, man, because there were I like, these are things that just confused me for years. I don't know why those relationships didn't develop. I do know from my own side, like, I wasn't putting in effort or trying to seek them out or that kind of thing. But on the other side, like, I guess, like, I always thought of it where, you know, when you're growing up, people will be like, join a sports team. It helps you develop this skill, that skill, those skills. It gives you, like, camaraderie, brothership. I never had those things in teams, really. Like, I'd always be there, like, I'm supposed to be developing these things, and I haven't really got any of them from it. And yeah,
So I'm gonna scoot back to the basketball thing real quick. So obviously, you've talked about it being a solid part of your identity. Do you feel like at what point did you feel like, okay, this dream is done? Like, how old were you when you were like, this dream is done?
Probably like 16.
For real?
Yeah.
So,
because, like I said, like, I had chronic injuries. I was getting, like, knee tendonitis, Achilles tendonitis. I found out I had one leg longer than the other. I think it eventually grew out, but I was just getting so many injuries, and for so many years, that I didn't feel like it was something viable. Because even if I could find a path, like, you can't, like, being constantly injured doesn't make it seem pursuable. Or maybe that was just the perception I had at that point. But
so do you feel like you mourned the dream? Like, I always find it interesting when, because there's certain things. What if you, let's say, you dream to be a writer, for example, you could write your first book at 60, right? Or there's no kind of timeline to certain things that people are passionate about. When it's sport, it's time sensitive because your body, it wears, right? So, with a dream like that, like, do you feel like, because I guess in the back of your mind, if you want to write or do music, in the back of your mind, it's always like, one day I can do this. I mean, Susan Boyle was in her 40s when she kind of came on the scene. So in the back of their head, or in a lot of people's heads, it's like, one day I can do this. But with ball or sport, it's like, once it's gone, it's gone. So do you feel like you mourned it? Do you feel like it was like it died within you?
okay, let me think. All right, so it wasn't just 16. Like, I probably gave up on it, like, multiple times after that. And morning. Because when you asked me that, I actually thought about something else. Like, from somehow, from a young age, I got it into my head that I was meant to have, like, seen success by 16. I don't know what that means or what I was supposed to have done by age 16, but it's like, I got 60 and I was like, I haven't done anything. And it's like, like, I had no frame of reference, again, for, like, the amount of time that success can take to make, the amount of time you have to become successful. It's like, as I got older, I eventually saw that, like, a lot of millionaires, they reach that point at, like, age 40 rather than at a young age. But I guess socially and societally, you see a lot of, like, really young people achieving things, and everyone's like, look at him, it's amazing. But you kind of don't see people who achieve things later on, kind of thing. So there's bare people who've just, like, quietly have these successes, and you don't hear about them. Like, nobody knows, but they're quietly doing things. And because you're only seeing, like, the brightest flames, it kind of can give this, like, I know I personally gained a misperception of, like, what should have been achieved and when. So even if it hadn't been ball, like, So like even outside of that, I kind of felt a way about not having achieved something by that age. And then in regards to ball, I think I had, it's a weird relationship because I'd lose it and then I'd find it again, and then I'd lose it and I'd find it again. And in there was some kind of, I guess there would have been mourning or loss, or I think it's more coming to acceptance about certain things, and some of those things being my role in my inability to achieve with regards to ball or whatever, and then like not being able to get there in itself. But I think I had, because there's a bunch of other stuff, like I never practiced either. Like I don't know what I was planning to achieve without really practicing. But again, like I was always getting by on talent, and I was always at a sufficient level of talent that like I got away without practicing. And so there's always that like, well, what if I did put in more intentional practice, and where like how good would I have been? And yeah, there was a point where like I went to a basketball camp, and it was for an academy where like it's basically where they're basically like, it's like a football academy or something, where like it's routes to pro ball. And the feedback I got, I guess both from the coaches and from my own performance, was like, in different circumstances this would have been achievable. And I guess the other thing I always thought was like, if I grew up in America as well, like this path would have been just a different thing, man. But or a different European country, man. Like trying to play ball from England, this is just like but like I had enough kind of things where I kind of realized like, what, with different circumstances, like this would have been viable, and that was enough for me to be satisfied. And I guess I've had that with different things as well, like with music as well. Like I've had stuff on the radio, and I've had stuff played on TV in Korea and Germany, and I'm kind of like, I don't think like a million plays on the radio or anything of that sort would give me a different internal feeling. Like I won't feel more satisfied with like more plays. It's like numbers which are infinite, and like if you relate to them in that way, then I guess you can generate satisfaction from it. But just having that experience of like, look, I was able to do this, I was able to get stuff played on like BBC One Extra or whatever, it's like, all right, cool, that's enough satisfaction to know for the pursuit, I guess. So like from those things, like I can die tomorrow, I could died a month ago, and it's like I'm not gonna have any regrets that I haven't pursued music or achieved in music more than I have currently, if that makes sense. And I guess that those kinds of things kind of helped with acceptance of things that have happened. And so having that realization with ball that like different circumstances, like this could have gone somewhere else, it kind of, I don't know if it was a mourning or it was a need to find a resolution or resolve, but that resolved whatever was lingering.